Well, good afternoon. This is Louie Diaz, KHTS News Director, live here in Old Town Newhall with Assemblywoman Suzette Valladares. Suzette, welcome to our show. How are you doing today?
Louie, I am hot like everyone else, but other than that, I'm doing quite well. Happy to be back here in Santa Clarita after ending our legislative session on August 31st, and just loving it. I love being home.
That's great. Well, everyone loves being home, and even if it's hot and miserable, thankfully, this is the only heat wave we've had so far. We made it to September before it came, and hopefully it's the last one. So,
From your lips to God's ears, my daughter would love it. You know, she started kindergarten a couple of weeks ago and hasn't been able to play outside this week. And, you know, as the little ones, they want to get their wiggles out and they want to play outside. But obviously it's just too dangerous for the littles to play outside right now. So your lips to God's ears, this is the last one of the year.
I hope so. And yeah, I mean, it's dangerous for any of us to be outside right now. And speaking of being outside and having a dangerous job, you know, lately there's been a handful of fires that have been burning, especially here in Castaic. A week ago today, the route fire broke out, and the effects of that fire are still lingering. I'm sure you've been getting a lot of calls to your office, possibly emails. Um, Due to the 5 freeway closure, a lot of people have been sharing their concerns with us, especially the media, just on how traffic is being handled. People feel that there's a lack of enforcement and they feel that there's not much being done. And when they're told to contact the county and CHP, they're being told that they have to contact your office and Senator Wilkes. So, is there anything you as a state leader are doing to work alongside the county to possibly get more county roads in and out of Castaic as we see a multitude of homes being built, which is essentially attracting more and more people to the area?
Yeah, well, Louie, great question, and thank you for giving me the opportunity to hop on the show and talk about it. And it's kind of there's a multi-prong answer here. And let's first start with, yes, the route fire that started last week burned 5,200 acres. Over 8 firefighters were fighting that, or injured during the fire, fighting that fire in some record heat temperatures. And ultimately, we see what we are still experiencing, a week and a half later, is closures on the 5 freeway. My office, just break down, I know some people don't always understand the role and responsibility of different layers of government. So as your state representative, my office can influence, impact, push, act as a liaison between our constituency and any state agency. So during the route fire, it was found that we had 2 lane closures. There was 3,000 linear feet of retaining wall damage. Mm-hmm. And really the structural integrity of the 2 lanes on the 5 freeway right now are at critical condition. So I'm happy to report that my office has been able to work with the state agency, with Caltrans, to say, hey, what are we going to do? 1, 2. The first priority is, and the most important thing, is safety to drivers. So we cannot open those lanes because it's unsafe for drivers to drive on those lanes. But second, what we need, and third, is transparency and communication. And my office has been working with Caltrans on understanding what is exactly going on, what are the plans to fix it. The Caltrans did submit and took samples of the wood, the concrete, and steel, and they're expecting to have the results back from those samples today. So my office is on top of them and saying what's going on with those samples. And then what will happen from there is they have actually contracted a company to start repairs. So we're seeing things moving, and the next thing is we need this big push for transparency. What is happening? When is it going to happen? And you can guarantee my office will be on it. We have received, about a dozen or 2 calls from my office about the lane closure, and we are working on it. The second component that, you're talking about, and this happens a lot, right, where you'll have a natural disaster, an accident, emergency, where you have to bring different levels of government together to work on the issue. So I have been helping with all of the interstate aspect of the route fire and the damage, and Catherine Barger's office is helping with any of the roads. And Castaic is an unincorporated part of LA County, so any roads that are not on the freeway, obviously, are the responsibility of Catherine Barger. So we've actually been working together to address this issue, and I'm waiting for an update from her office as well on what's going on the road side of the issue.
So let me ask you this, because during over the last 2 years, a lot of what we've been hearing in the media or watching the media when it comes to COVID, I swear this has something to do with what I'm talking about. We always heard like the city can't do this because we have to follow the county, or the county would say, hey, these guidelines are in effect because we have to follow the state. So obviously, from what we saw from that, the state had the top say as to what was going on until you get into the federal level of things. But as a state person, as a state representative, can't you come into the county and say, look, this needs to stop. You guys are approving homes, but you're not approving roads. So for instance, there's an example. I was talking to one of my friends who's on the Castaic Town Council, and there was a proposed plan to make a road going in and out of Castaic through Tapia Canyon that connects to the Tesoro neighborhood in Saugus. But from what they were told was the homeowners association of the Tesoro development said that they didn't want that because it would bring some more traffic to their area, and they didn't want that, so the county just shut it down. As a state leader, can't you come over and say to the county, hey, you guys need to do something, because that would eliminate traffic, because not only do people want to get home, another concern I saw where people were scared, hey, if our fire engine and paramedic in Castaic, you get a call and then another emergency comes out where someone can't breathe or someone's having heat related illness, it might take 35 minutes for the next set of paramedics to get in. So people want ways to get more roads coming in and out of the area. So how does that work in the sense of state being over county and that when it comes to traffic?
Right. So I understand it's one of the most, frustrating things about government and bureaucracy is things that seem like that should be, right, really simple, like just get it done. You can't always get done that way, which is why it's so vital and important that the overlapping jurisdictions of government work together, which is what we are trying to do here in Santa Clarita. But to kind of come back to, we have multiple issues here. We have the issue of the closure because of the route fire on the Interstate 5. Then we have road closures because of the route fire, and then we have a necessity for more roads because our community is growing. Right, we're in the Valencia area where the 5 Points development is going to be expecting over 26,000 new units over the next decade and a half, which is going to be approximately 60,000 people. And guess what? Those people are going to have cars. They're going to be on the roads, and we're going to need, more roads. I do remember, when the issue with the Tesoro and Saugus Road, and you're absolutely right. It is complex when you have the city, who also has jurisdiction within parts of Tesoro and Saugus. Obviously, the county, because the city's in the county and they have the unincorporated roads within their jurisdiction, and then the state. So with what I can do from your legislative perspective, from the state legislative perspective, is, I can't dictate to county what is their jurisdiction. We in a long about way, we could write a law, but I would have to go find 80 votes, for that law to get it through the assembly. And, something that we might need to look into when we're talking about, development, making sure that we have safe inroads and outroads across the state, right? So when I'm passing legislation, it impacts, the entire state for the most part. But which is why we have local jurisdictions that know more about the local needs. And we're, hopefully going to be having some community conversations in the near future. I do believe I'm going to actually ask my staff to send me the information too. I do believe we're working on a town hall type of meeting with Caltrans that can give some more information about the interstates. But to answer your question, it should be simplified. It needs to be simplified, and it's something that I'm digging into.
Yeah, because Castaic, we're no strangers to the 5 freeway closing. I mean, let's face it. It's September. I'll give it 2 months. 2 months, maybe 3, until it's shut down again because of snow, which, that'll be a whole different thing of problems to deal with then, but we'll cross that bridge when we get there. Well, and so thank you for talking about that, because I know that's a lot of what the people wanted to know. It's frustrating when you can't get home, or it is what it is. But on a lighter note, not too long ago, you've had several bills pass into law. For instance, AB 277, the Safer at Home bill, AB 319, the foreign election. Sorry, my computer just froze here. Interference bill, there it is. So how does it feel to have those bills pass? And now that these things are into law, what can we expect? What are these bills going to do to help the state of California and the Santa Clarita residents here?
Yeah, so, my Safe at Home bill, I was so blessed to have had the governor sign that last year, and it's went into effect. So in a nutshell, we are expanding the programs and services to domestic violence victims or sexual assault victims by expanding the language in which those programs and, restraining orders and paperwork are accessible. And, there are, in LA County and Southern California and California, we are a melting pot, right? Or some people refer to it as a salad, right, of different cultures. And with that, too, we have some people who, whether they came here from Vietnam, from Korea, from, South America, from Mexico, they speak different languages. And their first language sometimes can be a barrier for accessing information that is really critical to keeping, themselves or their family or friends safe. So what my bill does is it offers these, the Safe at Home program, restraining orders in other languages so that people can access it and be safe. Also really, one of the things that I know our community cares about in terms of my bill, AB 319, which is a foreign election interference bill, is just transparency and integrity in our elections. And, what my bill essentially does is it helps California to guard against foreign interference in state and local elections, and really gives the FCC the teeth to make sure that they are going after and preventing foreign interference in our local and state elections. Can't be more proud to have written a few bills that are now laws. I also have 5 bills on the governor's desk. So I've been working with his office to just kind of help him understand how important these bills are to our community. And I can go over all those 5 bills if you'd like me to, or I can just pick out the fun ones, and they're all fun, so that's 5.
Yeah, I mean, whatever you would like. I mean, if you want to pick, maybe if you want to talk about the top 3 here and just which ones you're the most, you feel most strongly about passing and what those bills would do, that would be awesome. I'm sure the people would love to know.
I'll try to stick to 3, but I love all of my bills. So
no,
I'm probably going to talk about all 5. So we have the dual language learner child care and preschool bill. Louie, you're probably aware, my background has been child care and preschool. I previously worked as an advocate for early childhood education access, and then I ran a nonprofit preschool, so early learning is key and vital. During the pandemic, I saw firsthand, and I knew firsthand from whether it was watching what was going on in my own preschool or just understanding early learning and how important it is for children to access early learning because it creates social and emotional foundations. that really are a foundation for success for the rest of a little learner's life. So one of the first bills that I presented it was born out of me recognizing that the pandemic was going to create this, little generation of kids that didn't speak English, was going to create an even wider gap and foundation for social and emotional behavior or education. Was my bill, my dual language learner child and preschool bill. It increases access to the state child care services and preschool for dual language learners. Over half of California's children under 6 speak a language other than and or in addition to English. So having access and expanding access for our littlest learners is key, again, to setting a foundation for them. So they are ready for kindergarten, like so many of their other peers. The other bill, this is probably one of my favorite bills. It's AB 2640. It's called the Zaki Law. And let me just tell you, there's a little boy, a little man. His name is Zaki. And he came to me with this phenomenal bill idea. And we worked together. And essentially what the bill does is it creates a California food allergy resource internet web page. And it provides school districts, parents, caregivers, and students with information to keep students with food allergies safe at school. And let me just tell you, I grew up with allergies. I have friends who have had severe allergies that have to carry EpiPens. There is nothing more scary than having an anaphylactic reaction to, something that you're allergic to. And just having the tools and the utensil at school on a website, that can keep kids safe, just, eases my mind and my heart as a parent, even though my daughter doesn't have allergies. So it's going to be a phenomenal bill, which I think is going to really raise awareness and help keep kids safe. Another bill that we have is, and this is something that I think, I firsthand, understand that we live in a wildfire hazard area. That's just what Santa Cruz is surrounded, right? By mountains, brush, wildfires happening all the time.
Yep.
So one of the biggest concerns that I've been hearing from people is that they're fearful of losing their wildfire insurance. And, as homeowners, for a lot of us, that is your economic stability or access to upward mobility. And when you're worried about losing your homeowner's insurance or your wildfire insurance, it's a scary thing. But it's also really expensive. And not only are homeowners experiencing this, but businesses are experiencing the same thing in areas like ours. So my bill is going to require the Department of Insurance to study a potential option for reducing home insurance premiums as well and property owners in high wildfire risk areas. It's so vital because, I heard, of one business here, Louie, and, I'm saying this correctly. Their wildfire insurance went from $600,000 a year to $1 million a year.
Wow. Just for fire insurance.
I said all those zeros.
Wow. That's
so
insane.
Go ahead.
No, I'm just saying that's a huge jump.
And it's just not sustainable, right? As from a business perspective, from a homeowner's perspective, it's not sustainable. And this is an issue that I'm committed to working on, especially after I get reelected come November. And lastly, as a woman and a mom of a young girl, it is my honor, my passion, and truly just in my blood and bones to protect women and girls and stop and prevent sex trafficking. So I have another bill that I am so excited about because it creates a new tool in California to combat and stop trafficking. So I have AB 1788, which is my sex trafficking bill, and it's going to give local prosecutors additional tools to combat sex trafficking. Motels are consistently among the top 3 venues for sex trafficking, and federal law is underutilized, quite frankly. So what my bill is going to do is going to allow city and district attorneys to impose civil penalties on hotel and motel owners whose supervisory employees knew that sex trafficking was occurring on their premises. So in a nutshell, it creates mandated reporters at hotels and motels so that we can stop sex trafficking. So those are 4 of my bills. Really excited about all of them and just anxiously awaiting the governor to sign them.
That's great. Thank you for sharing all that with us. Do you know when we could be finding out if those laws are signed? Is there a timetable there, or is it just a waiting game now?
So constitutionally, the governor has 30 days once the bill hits his desk to sign my bills. So he'll have until the end of September to decide what bills he's going to sign, if he's going to veto any bills, and not just my bills, all bills. So that deadline is fast approaching, and you can believe you me, as soon as I find out whether or not they've been signed, I will let y'all know.
Well, we're looking forward to hearing about it, and we wish you luck there, Suzette. Thank you so much for coming and talking to us today about these bills that you've had signed into law, and then the ones that are coming up, and also just talking about the route fire and the traffic situation. And I'm sure a lot of people are going to find that helpful. I find it helpful. It's government, the different layers of government can be very confusing, as you said. So thank you for giving some insight on that, and we appreciate it.
Well, Louie, thank you so much for having me. I just want to add one short thing right now, too. I was happy to bring home $3 million in state funds for Bridge to Home to combat homelessness, as well as another $7 million to the city of Santa Clarita to acquire what is known as the Hondo oil field, which is going to be a critical piece of open space for Santa Clarita Valley.
That's awesome. Well, thank you, and we'll talk to you more about that one next time. That sounds very interesting.
Thanks, Louie. Talk to you soon.
See ya. This is Louie Diaz with KHTS. You can follow us on our social media at KHTS Radio, and go to our website for all the latest news, hometownstation.com.